Hello again and welcome to another Minecraft story time here in Abydos. And today we're going to be reading a very unique story. One day I'm going to do something about that 8 diamonds as well. But this story, unlike the other stories that I've read so far that I've written myself, this story was actually written by another player and then finished by me once they were actually banned from the server. So this is actually an interesting story because it tells the story about them coming to the server in their own words, but it's definitely kind of exaggerated a bit. And then I kind of continue the story after the banning. Yeah, this is the Lady Bio by Madame Lady Dank. Copy of original. I've got the original though. When I was a young girl, I had no idea that this world would be what made me feel at home. I grew up in a world where being lonely was my day-to-day life, and after becoming an adult, I traveled to this faraway land called Abydos. I knew that when I came here, I was going to stay for hopefully the rest of my MC life. Everything about this place made my day-to-day life better in every way. When I first moved here, I lived in a fort that I rented from a friend of mine and allowed me to decorate it to make me feel more comfortable. I settled down quickly in the fort and began to get more supplies so that I could do wonderful things in this world. I started with doing small jobs around the area to help people with their projects. And once I was able to save up enough money, I bought some land so I could start farming. I would be up day and night working on my farm. I would farm everything. I would farm chickens, sheep, goats, cows, mushrooms, and just about any other animal that you could farm, as well as growing crops on mass proportions. So to me, the next best thing I could think of to do was open a farmer's market. Until now, I was completely content with my life, plain and simple. I had a simple house, a simple life as a farmer. That brings us to where I am now, in jail for life. That is, I had never planned to make it here, and at the time I felt like I was invincible. Anything we put our mind to, we could accomplish. I met someone. Isn't that exciting? New relationships are always super exciting, but I never thought this one would be this life-altering. I met her in a kingdom far from this one, but our love didn't blossom until a Hunger Games was held in our own world we live in now. It was just a normal job for me, assisting on building an area for it to happen. During the build, we were inseparable. She had this dark brown eyes that would make the strongest of people melt, and she had her attention pointed on me. How lucky was I that this is what I thought at the time? How silly was I? Well, I guess we should get to the good part. We had been living in this simple life together, freshly married in our beautiful dock house. She showed me new things in life and took me places. It started with small things to impress her, breaking some rules or bending them for her, giving her my everything, or small things like theft to give her an all. I wanted to impress her so bad. I never let her know about these rule breaking, of course. Why would I? If I was caught, she would be liable. It was always me doing the misdeeds. Everything was great until the big ban on the big farms came around, and suddenly our comfy little life became more difficult. We had to work even harder for what we wanted in life. Mobs were introduced in the world, and suddenly we're all under stress all the time to provide for a family, but also to keep our way of life alive. The mobs made everything so much harder, and with stress and a harder way to provide, you wouldn't turn to a life of crime. She tried her hardest day and night to provide for us in her shops and mining for us, but it was never enough. Suddenly, we were broke. We couldn't even afford to purchase the small things that we needed to be able to make things work anymore. After our house burnt down, she lost it. She proposed we get revenge. She wanted to egg the house of the mayor and the owner, but I was thinking big. They took my simple and great life. They took everything from me. So I wanted to take something from them. After the construction of the bridge that led to the museum, I hatched a plan. I was going to take away their beloved bridge. I couldn't do it without an alibi, of course, so I had to plan it around my wife. I made a plan for us to go mining a friend of mine's house under his lot with his permission, of course. He was my partner in crime at one point in life, but not anymore. I only run solo in life, and that is how it will be from now on. While she was busy mining, I slipped away with the excuse of running to the shops really quick to get some supplies. She was oblivious and believed every word. I grabbed my TNT and I made my way to the bridge, preparing to make the drop, light, and run for the hills. At this time, I didn't expect her to find out until I looked up and I was placing the TNT, and she is looking at me dead in the eyes. "What the hell are you doing?" she said, so coldly. "I have permission," I blurted out, without even thinking. "I'm not stupid. I know the owner or the mayor would never allow this." She turned to leave, and in a panic I yelled, "Wait! Help me!" She stopped in her tracks and turned around, looked at me. "Why though? Why are you doing this?" She looked sad. "They took our life from us. Don't you want them to hurt like we have been?" She thinks for a second and sighs. "Be my ride or die, babe." The attention, she loves it. She wants to, but she is scared of being caught. I get that she's just a small town girl from a kingdom that is long gone now. But she isn't from the big town I'm from. I look down thinking, she will leave me after this? Hurry, she grabs the TNT from my hands and starts placing them everywhere. I can't help but smile. I know we don't have much time. We light the fuse and fly before it even goes off. In the distance, we hear the explosion. We celebrate and drink all night long at the realization of our devious scheme. Not long into the night, she seems to be getting more and more nervous. As the news spreads around the world, she backs out of our plans and makes a run for it, leaving the world. Okay, I'll preface this next part of the book by saying that this player lady gave me this book as they were being banned from the server, and it was written up to this page here, and then I finished their bio. They were being suspected of taking items from shops without paying for them, and it was really tough because there wasn't underlying proof, but there was some stuff going missing, and it was really kind of tough to say what was going on. I asked the player to try and record them playing all the time so they had an alibi, and to stay away from shops and just the city itself, and just to basically live like a hermit for a few months, or like at least a month, until, you know, suspicion of them died down. But they weren't really listening, and they were still coming, and then and stuff kept going missing, and it got to the point where I had to remove them because too many players had suspected this player, unfortunately. And I don't exactly remember the circumstances because this goes back to about a year ago, and it's just a matter of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And to this day, I kind of equate it to shop owners not keeping track of their stock of their items enough, and then just thinking that stuff was taken. I don't know. It's really hard to say because that has happened before. But this is where I kind of took the book and continued. On September 23rd, 2021, Lady was sentenced to death. I met her at her home, and she knew why I was there. She knew, and knowing she had accepted her fate only made the final conversation more difficult. We sat at her patio table. I began to explain why I was there. For the theft taking place in Abydos. There is much that led to this, and it's the story that may be told one day. She pleaded to be spared. I explained that she had been given a chance. She proceeded to remove her gear. She was in her base for only a few minutes before coming out. She stood before me, tossed me this book, and said, "I'm ready." And at that moment, her life here was over. I wept, wondering if I had been sent to slay an innocent. This book was signed in posthumous. Innocent or guilty, a tragedy was had either way. May this book allow the reader some insight into who Lady was, although the accounts are embellished. And then I signed the end of it. So, of course, I wrote what I wrote in red. Actually, one of the pages weirdly glitched out, so there's actually a page missing, but for somehow it still somewhat is coherent. And I did actually cry when I banned this player because I had about 6 months of history with this player, wasn't convinced this person had stolen, and hearing this person kind of plead with me to not remove them was absolutely heartbreaking. It was not fun, to say the least. It was definitely amongst the hardest bans I've ever done. So they were given. There's more to the story now, actually, because they actually are back. Because eventually, I think we just kind of realized we had made a mistake, and we asked them to come back, and luckily they accepted, because we actually banned both Lady and her wife that she speaks of in the story. And this is their tomb, that their final resting place. And yeah, I don't know if there's anything actually in it. Let's take a look. But they're back, and so they were given all their artifacts, all their stuff back, and just begged for their apologies for making a mistake. I don't even know what made us realize we made a mistake, but I don't think stuff kept going missing. But anyway, the bridge that was blown up, it was this bridge right here, which used to be this kind of not very pretty looking black stone construction. And they were asking to destroy something just to troll. And so I said, yeah, take out the bridge, because the bridge needs to be rebuilt anyway. And so yeah, they took out this bridge right here. And that's the bridge from their story. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that story about Lady. They're Lady and Kite, the other player. They're both on this server to this day. So not only is this story unusual for being written by a player that wasn't me, but it's written about a player who's still here, which I don't write about players who are still here, and for the main reason that I don't want to feel like when I'm writing a story, I'm going to write it to please them. I want to write a true account of that player's time on the server, so I don't actually write stories about people who I'm playing with, which is why there's no stories of the current players like Gamer and stuff you see me game with. Anyway, I've ended up chatting too much, and there's probably very few people at this tail end of this video anyway. If you are here though, please subscribe. I super appreciate you watching, and until next time, later.